Yes, yes, it's about that time again. The Shy, Season 3, Episode 4. Of course, I'm going to do a spoiler recap, so you haven't seen the episode. Make sure you check that out and then come back to my video. The Adventures of Ronnie and Dre. Now, I didn't name it that. That's not the official title of the episode, but I've been on this site called the Kali for a few years now. So, on a sub forum of the Kali called the Film Room, one of the posters named this episode The Adventures of Ronnie and Dre. I found that funny, so I'm just going to roll with that as the title. Now, let's get into the episode. But before we do that, make sure you subscribe, share the video, like if you are feeling the content, click that notification bell so you know when I'm dropping a new video. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate the new subscribers. Salute to y'all. Now let's get into this episode. So it starts back with a flashback of Keisha and Dre, right? And showing their conflict. But the main point of this flashback was to stress that Keisha had a tattoo on her back. Keisha got a tattoo. She didn't tell her mother Nina, and Dre never told Nina about the tattoo. That was the main point of that flashback, and it comes into play later in the episode. Now, how the last episode left off with Ronnie watching the fat white dude, I don't know his name, so I'm just gonna call him the fat white dude. Um, he went to approach him, but the white dude got away somehow. He scrambled off, looking real suspicious. And I was always wondering, I was like, okay, why is Ronnie so suspicious of dude? Because yes, once Ronnie started to approach him, he did look awfully suspicious. But what made Ronnie approach him in the first place? Because he just looked like he was part of the visual before Ronnie went to approach him. And they did explain that in this episode, which I was hoping they would do because this season, as we've been talking about the previous reviews, they haven't explained or wrapped up a lot of the storylines. So I was happy that they actually explained why Ronnie was so suspicious of him, and the reason why they was in jail together, and Ronnie knew he was in jail for some type of sexual offense. I think it was rape. So when Ronnie breaks in to his house, he goes to an area where he was staying at in his father's house and finds all sorts of stuff. Basically, pictures of underage girls and also seemed to be child porn that he was into. So Ronnie take pictures of it and then goes to Dre, right? Dre don't fully trust Ronnie yet, which is understandable, of course, but they decide to team up, and this is where the adventures of Ronnie and Dre come into play, right? They go back to his house. They approach him. Ronnie basically yoke him up on the car. They confront him with all this evidence, but he's able to knee Ronnie in the balls and escape again, right? But they approached him again, right? And this time he wasn't able to escape. They was able to get the information from him that yes, he did kidnap a girl and took her to the beach. And what it led viewers to believe was that this is Keisha, especially because they called Nina, Nina called Kevin, and the whole music, the whole vibe was that Keisha was dead, right? But I knew it wasn't Keisha, like just for a few different reasons. First, I think they're going to drag out the storyline for the entire season. That's what it seems like. So I was like, I doubt they would kill her this early, right? Because it seemed like this is going to be a season long thing. So I didn't see that happening for one. And number two, once they actually got to the body, I was like, okay, this is not the same clothes Keisha had on when she was kidnapped. So I was like, nah, this is not her. But of course, it became official when Dre asked them to turn over the body, and she didn't have the tattoo. So, of course, Keisha is still out there somewhere. I doubt if she's dead. I think they're gonna find her alive, but I think it's going to be probably either the last episode or the episode before the last. That's my opinion. I think it's going to be a whole season theme, especially because they don't really have a main character this season. It looks like they not so much focused on a main character like there was the other two seasons with Brandon. Is going to be the theme of where's Keisha the entire season. So I expect Ronnie to have a major role in finding Keisha. Seemed like this is his mission. He want to redeem himself, not just for his grandmother, which that's the reason he gave Dre, is that he told his grandmother he would do something good before she passes. I think he want to redeem himself in the eyes of the community because he feels bad for the murder of Coogie, which he murdered season one because he thought that Coogie murdered his uh, a boy that he considered his son. So I believe Ronnie will redeem himself this season. You see him in the church, and again, I still ask what happened to common character and the whole Muslim angle, but that's neither neither here nor there. But one of the things that this whole little scene stresses is that yes, while it was good that it wasn't Keisha, they want to stress that there are other missing girls out there, other missing black girls that you know nobody know where they at. There's no investigations, and they trying to bring light to that situation. So let's get into the kids, right? So Kevin, now you see how Keisha disappearance is affecting Kevin right now. He's ready to fight at the drop of a dime. Anything could set him off. He was even, pressing Jake a little bit because he doesn't like his new little girlfriend or his new interest. So he was like, yeah, you say something else about her, me and you gonna be fighting. And you see that he's heavily sprung on her. I'm gonna get into that in a second. But these two dudes walk in. They say something about Keisha because Keisha's face is there, and they said something disrespectful. Kevin just hauls off and snuffs one of them. One hitter quitter. So you see you see this effect on him. You see his personality changing a little bit because he got all this rage built up, which is understandable. It's definitely understandable. Like they definitely need to have some therapy. I know a lot of times we look down at people that go to therapy, but I think we all not. I think we all can benefit from therapy. To be honest, it's just my opinion. I think everybody have some type of issue that they could be working out. It doesn't mean that you are an emotional wreck, but I think everybody can benefit. But in this case, the whole family can, especially Nina and Kevin, because this is beyond a traumatic experience. Like there's no closure. You don't know whether Keisha is dead or alive. Just is really stressful. Like on one hand, it give you hope. You still have hope because nobody is found, and maybe she's still alive. But on the other hand, there's no closure in the situation, and you think about what is happening to her. Is she getting tortured? Is she continuously getting raped? Or maybe she already was killed and just nobody had found the body yet. So it's just like, man, you know, on one hand, it is you have hope, but on the other hand, it's almost worse, just because it's torturing you. You know, so I can't even imagine what what they would be going through. So they definitely need to, sort that out and basically talk to somebody. Because yeah, Kevin is definitely ready to do some damage, and you don't want to be reckless in this situation. So back to his love interest, you know, Kevin is really sprung on. I believe her name is Gemma. I think that's how they was pronouncing it, Gemma. But he's willing to do about anything for her right now to win her affection. So we'll see how that progresses. So it seemed like she's kind of feeling him too. She knows that Kevin like her, so she's kind of playing on that a little bit too. But we'll see. We'll see where that goes. It seems like that's going to be uh, some kitty love going on there, but we'll monitor that situation. Um, so Kevin was at this museum with Nina, his mother, and um, it seems like they trying to put Kevin and his family at um, at the limelight of the situation because okay, the school saying this is what we do. We're giving back to the community because you know they couldn't afford. There's no way they could afford to go to a school like this, and basically acting like they a charity case and not knowing what to say to them, talking about one one of the donors actually told Nina, "Your son could be the next Ben Carson," and she was like, "Yeah, I hope not. Definitely." I was like, "Yeah, that's right there." Like, why would you think that's acceptable? You don't know their politics at all, and if you was betting, if you know anything, you would know that's more than likely would be an insult. So just just stupid stuff. And like Gemma was telling Nina, they don't know what to say to us. You know, so I find that interesting, and just like it puts you in a dilemma. Like if you Nina, I wouldn't want my child going to a school like that that have almost no diversity, but at the same time, that school will give him the best opportunities to advance in life. So it's just like, man, it's a catch 22, So the way Nina's thinking, will suck it up and have to deal with this subtle or, not so subtle racism that this school has to keep Kevin in a better position. So on to Jake and Duda, right? So Duda wife comes out of nowhere, right? Where does she come from? Never mentioned her before. I don't know what type of role she's going to play. I can't really get a read on her so far. I don't know what's going to happen with that storyline. I guess we just have to see. So, one thing that I noticed is that Jake is really starting to pay attention to the game. He's learning a lot of game from Otis Perry, right? Now, Duda is not a good guy, but he is very smart. And I like the fact Jake is starting to pay attention to some of the stuff. Um, you see how he introduced Duda to Gemma father, who is rich, made that connection. And when he introduced him as his father. So Duda is noticing that too, and he's starting to be impressed. So I don't know if Jake is doing that to win Duda affection or if he's just playing the game to get himself in a better position as well. But one of the things that's going to be very interesting is to see how Trig reacts to this. Because, Trig is only there to bring Jake back, right? So with Jake being getting close to Duda, I don't know how that storyline is going to go, but it seems like it's probably going to be some violence in that situation. So looking forward to seeing how that particular storyline plays out. Now, also, dude, our wife asks him, "Okay, why do you even want to be mayor?" And he said, basically, because they told him he couldn't. Which, I understand, but it's really not a good reason. You would hope that if you want to be a public servant, is to actually make the situation better. But that's not how reality is. Most politicians are in it for career advancement and for status. So that's real. But that whole little scene kind of reminded me of Malcolm X. Now, have you ever read the autobiography of Malcolm X or seen the Spike Lee Malcolm X movie? You know that Malcolm wanted to be a lawyer, and a white teacher told him that that's not a job for Negroes. You're better off being a carpenter or something like that. And that kind of destroyed his dreams. So I think that was a throwback to that. I think that scene was heavily influenced by that Malcolm X line in the movie and in his autobiography, which I actually like because that if you haven't read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and what you waiting for? Definitely go do that as soon as possible. Excellent book. I mean, it's a classic book, man. So make sure y'all read that if you haven't already. Now it's Papa, right? So um, Lena Lena character goes to Papa church, right? She's running for mayor of Chicago, and I think it's kind of parallel to what's happening now, right? Because Chicago has a lesbian black female mayor right now. So I think they kind of, I don't know if it would be a callback, but kind of mimicking what's going on right now with Chicago mayor, right? So I expect her to actually win against Duda. I don't know how that storyline gonna play out, but because in real life there is a black lesbian mayor of Chicago right now, I'm expecting that to play out in the series as well. So Lena character is in Papa Church. You see that her reception is kind of cold, right? Because I think what they was hitting that her reception was cold because she is a lesbian or whatever. But before I even get into that part, right, with her speech, Papa Father says some things as well. He basically says that there shouldn't be separation of church and state, and she'll bring prayer back, and yada yada, right? Which I don't know how many people caught on to that or even care, but politics is what I do. This is what I do, baby. Like he's completely wrong. There's definitely need to be separations of church and state because who to say who religion is right? Everybody think their religion is right. So I shouldn't have to follow a religion or a laws of a religion that I don't believe in. You know what I'm saying? There's definitely need to be separation of church and state. Like there's even different denominations of Christianity. Like, okay, what if you want to? What if everybody want to follow? I don't know, 7 Day Adventists, how they do things, or Jehovah Witnesses, how they do things. I think that's where people forget. Like, okay, you don't want separation of church and state, but what if it's not your particular religion? Sure you would feel differently then. So yeah, we need to keep separation of church and state. That doesn't mean your religion need to be disrespected. You have the right to practice whatever you want to practice, but you can't force that upon other people. That's a big deal. And the deal, I know everybody want prayer in school, but the thing about that is this: what if the children that don't follow that particular religion, a lot of times they feel like outsiders, because the questions will they get pressed with with questions by the other kids, like, okay, why you not doing this? So no, 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 no. Keep that separation in church and state. But anyway, back to the back to the show, right? And back to Lena's speech, right? They made it out like this was such of a amazing speech, right? Like she was going in on it. She got a cold reception. Um, the audience started to warm up to her, which I thought the speech wasn't that good, to be honest. Um, First, I didn't think the acting was that good. I mean, she's the creator of the show, and I love the first two seasons. This season is, I mean, it's still decent, but not on par with the first two seasons. But her her acting ability, at least in this episode, not too impressive. But anyway, the speech wasn't that good. No policy solutions. And then she ended the speech with "Make Chicago Great Again." What? Okay, you going, you going, you going take from Trump? Nah, 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 nah. But beyond that, again, she started off the speech saying that she was supposed to speak about like some real policies, and she made a speech talking about the missing um, black girls, right? Which is an issue, and I don't mind them speaking on that, especially since this is the theme of the season. However, she gave no solutions. Like, if you're running for mayor, what you going to do about the situation? Because just speaking about it, that's not going to do too much. Like, what are you going to do about it? Do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy? How you plan to lead to help correct this problem, especially as a mayor? I mean, if I'm running for mayor and I mention this, you could mention maybe I'm going to dedicate more funds to a task force to investigate missing persons reports. You can do that as mayor, right? Especially because I don't know how every city runs, but in most cities, mayor can appoint the police chief. They can work with the city council about the budget issues. So, yeah, are you going to put more money to finding missing persons, especially black girls? Like, what are you going to do? She basically just stated the problem with no solution, which I hate that, But again, politics is like that. Sometimes they address the problem without saying anything. Okay, yeah, I know what the problem is, but what you going to do about it? That happens in real life. So um, I didn't like the speech, but the reaction wasn't realistic, but the type of speech a politician would give, that part was realistic in it. So I like it in that sense, right? And I also like that they show how crooked politics is and how people are multi-dimensional. Papa Father seemed like a real good guy, but of course he's taking a payoff from Nina character, for his support. So you see, she give him a envelope full of money, right? Papa sees this, and Papa asks his dad what's going on, and dad basically like basically stay in the child place. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if Papa Father get caught up in that because church supposed to be tax exempt as well, and that's the other thing. You know, um, so if they get caught, who knows how that's going to come back on Papa and his family. So that's another storyline to watch out for. Will that be made public? What's going to happen with that? And finally, we got Emmett and Tiff, and their relationship is always just a mess. Emmett taking advice from his father, which is the worst person to get advice from. Those scenes is funny though. Like Emmett father gives the worst advice ever. I said, you see, that was probably the funniest part of the episode, scenes with them. But you see Tiff and couples therapy and basically talking about why they're not having sex anymore. Um, Tiff says that she off birth control. So I don't know if we come close to at least addressing that storyline because she was pregnant last season, and it just been no mention of that. But she says that she's not on birth control, and so so that's why she's kind of hesitant to have sex. Did she have an abortion? Will we find out the next couple episodes? Hopefully, because one of these storylines need to be wrapped up, man. So hopefully that storyline get wrapped up. But we see at the end that Emmett goes to Sunny for advice, and Sunny actually gives him some good advice. Just goes to show you sometimes, you know, even though they're your blood, that's not the best person to go to for certain situations. And Sonny is a better father figure than Emmett, biological father. But overall, it was a decent episode. Hopefully, I think we starting to get at least a little bit of consistency. Still not as good as the other two seasons, but we are getting some consistency at least. But that's my review. What do y'all think of the episode? What y'all think is going to happen? I think Keisha is going to be found alive at the end of the season. What y'all think? Let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video. Thanks for the support. Peace.